In previous episodes, I think I've touched on that I really like playing a medic whenever I'm doing some sort of cooperative-based game, whether it's something like, say, Killing Floor, or if it's Left 4 Dead 2 and I'm just administering pain pills and adrenaline and healing teammates. That seems to be the role that I like to fill, even for the very brief 5-second window in which I played Evolve. I've chose the medic class because I seem to be a lot better at looking at everybody else's health and how they're doing and keeping them alive than I am at sort of tending to myself. It's like, I'll look to everyone else, and then I'll come and take care of me. Not to say that's exactly how I operate in my day-to-day life, but when it comes to cooperative-based games, that's the role I'm most comfortable playing. Mainly because a lot of the other people are going to be in the face of the action taking the hits, so I don't really need to get into the thick of it myself. I can kind of sit back, take pot shots, provide fire support and literal support by making sure they don't die, which is always good when you're playing a team-based game because it's kind of a house of dominoes. Why did I say that? It's a house of cards. If one goes down, the whole thing could collapse. House of Dominoes. Is that even a thing? I don't even know. Anyway, point is, that's a role that I like. Not only is it comfortable, but it makes sense to me. The parameters of what my existence within that game world and role are defined and very clear. I am there to make sure that everybody else doesn't die, that they're as healthy as possible, that they've got everything they need to do the job, complete the objective, and, when they need me to, jump in and pitch hit in case somebody's reloading or, is just taking on something that's super beefy and needs a couple extra 9mm milk duds to take it down. Don't even know why they bother having 9mm in most of those mutant zombie games. Most of those things just shrug them off anyway. Point being, it's very nice because I know exactly what I have to do. There's no kind of vague interpretation. There's no guessing at what exactly your role is supposed to be. You know what your role is. You know your role and how it affects the team. You don't need to go scrambling for any kind of understanding as to what exactly it is you're supposed to do. And because you know exactly what your role is, the rest of the team benefits because you've each got a very specified skill set. It's kind of where I didn't like Skyrim, where it kind of took that away and allowed you to be the everyman and be a master of all things, because that's just not realistic. Nobody can be a master of everything. Don't get me wrong. You can be really good at a lot of things, but to master something, you really have to dedicate all your time to that or to a few specific things. It's why it's kind of frustrating for me sometimes when I've got so many varied interests. I really have to focus on the ones that I enjoy or that I'm good at or both and focus on them, because otherwise I'll be a Swiss Army knife of scatterbrained creative curiosities that really don't go anywhere. And that's something you can take away for yourself as well. But the point of all this is I find this to be a really good sort of thesis, I guess, for life itself, in that we really struggle, I think, when you're trying to determine your place, your role, and your meaning within your life and within the world, especially nowadays. Excuse me. Coughing, for example. Maybe you'd like to be a nurse or a doctor or something, someone who helps or administers medicine for throat things, kind of like what I'm dealing with right now. But I digress. Way back when, let's say even 100 years ago, your role was pretty clearly defined. You were limited by where you were born, the country you were in, the situation at the time, the global socioeconomic climate, and technology. Nowadays, you have access to so much. You've got this wealth of information, not to mention that your life expectancy, depending on where you are born and where you live or where you immigrate to, goes shooting right up. Medicine's way better than it's ever been. Food's way better than it's ever been and is more readily available. Safety, protection, job security, those things fluctuate, but by and large, they're something you can basically count on, which kind of leaves what you do really up to interpretation. You're not so limited by really anything. It's all up to choice. And depending on the school of thought you subscribe to, I tend to think that we really do prefer it when we're told exactly what we have to do. Not saying that constraining freedoms is a good thing by any sort of the imagination, but when you have a predetermined or preset role to fill, and that's the one you're slotted into, granted, sometimes that can lead to horrible mental state and depression, among other things, but I think it kind of takes the guesswork out of it. You're not struggling for meaning because it's been told. You have been dictated to as to what exactly your role is going to be. You fill that, and hopefully you do it well, and maybe if you're lucky, you also enjoy it. But at least the hindsight and agony of choice, looking back on what you might have done, should have done, or could have done, isn't really there. That option never existed. You just were slotted into the role, and that's the one you carry out. Games kind of take the guesswork out of that, especially in multiplayer cooperative environments, because more often than not, like I say, you're filling those roles. Maybe you're support, maybe you're the medic, maybe you're the heavy. I'm trying to think what else. Maybe you're the sniper. You have very specific roles to fill. Can you do other things? Yes. Could you be good at those other things? Yes, but you have a specialty, a specialization that you are particularly suited for, and within that realm, within that sphere of influence, you're the best there is. Anybody else could jump in and try to kind of, pitch hit if they had to, but they're never going to be as good at it naturally or technically as you are. In life, you don't really have that all the time. You may have some latent talents, some natural skills, or find that you really enjoy doing one thing. But as to whether or not that's the thing that you want to do or the role you want to fill, especially nowadays, it's even more difficult to settle in on. You've got a lot of choice, you have a lot of options, varied interests, the internet opens you up to so much else. YouTube, that's something where anybody can literally put up their own content, whatever that is, whether it's Let's Plays, whether it's rambly, talky stuff like this, music, animations, a combination of all of those things, pranks, vlogs. I keep calling them vlogs. I don't know why I do that. I always separate the V and the L. I guess it's not technically wrong. Comedy bits, short films, maybe just little sketch comic ideas, improv, all kinds of stuff, how-to videos, you name it, the sky's the limit. Literally the only thing stopping you is you. And I think that's kind of where the crisis comes from, the internal crisis, I guess you would say, because there's no real parameters that are limiting you anymore. I'd say now more than ever, and certainly as time goes on and technology improves and the way we access information and connect with one another hopefully gets better, you're going to have more of that. Because when you think about it now, it's very much on you. There's no one necessarily, and I know this is a very big generalization, I'm not being overly specific here, for the reason of the argument I'm making here, is that the choice, the onus, that was the word I was looking for, is on you. What you do, how you live, where you live, how you conduct yourself, the kind of person you be, the job you do, or the passion you pursue aren't really dictated to you by anyone else other than yourself, which means, and here's the scary part, when all's said and done, whether you succeed or fail, whether it works or it doesn't, and whether you're happy or not, really comes down to your choice. Now more than ever, all of the choices are on your side of the table. There are very few things that are going to direct you in one specific direction that you don't have some influence over, which, although kind of terrifying, is also pretty awesome. And mind you, I think that's more impetus than ever to figure out what makes you happy, or what you enjoy, or what you can see yourself doing that makes you feel fulfilled, and do that as quickly as possible. Mind you, life is a journey, and inevitably things, interests, passions, personality, thoughts, ideology, philosophy, all those things change as you acquire more information and life experience, meet new people, and see new things. But I think it just says now more than ever that you have an opportunity to do what you enjoy, to do what makes you happy, whatever that thing may be. And you've got such an access to all the tools that can help you either take one step closer to what you actually want to be or who you want to be, or at the very least, set you down a path that will show you, okay, this can lead me somewhere. This is exactly what I want. Or, you know what? This isn't what I wanted at all. All this to say that doing nothing, as I've said before, is never a worthwhile pursuit. There's a very good argument to be made for patience, waiting, and timing what you want to do, but at the expense of doing nothing at all, I definitely don't think that's worth it. And that's where, bringing it back around, games can kind of offer an escape from that kind of internal struggle, because although more games give you a more varied approach to how you want to pursue things and kind of be the everyman, there's still a good number of them that will slot you into a role, and try as you might, that is the role you fill. You don't need to think about anything else other than being the medic, in my case. And hopefully this was an interesting discussion for you as well, giving you something to think about, and maybe you've got some ideas to share of your own. Maybe there's a role you like to fill when you're playing a cooperative game as well. Again, I'm preferential to the medic just because that feels right to me. Everything about that role makes sense, but maybe you feel the same way, maybe you don't, or hey, you know what, maybe it's different for you. Maybe you too prefer something like a medic role, but you don't play it like a medic. Maybe you jump into the medic role, but you play more of a frontline heavy-hitting assaulter, and although it shouldn't work, somehow you make it all work. It clicks for you in a different way. But if you were to play somebody who should be up front and taking the blows, you just fall apart. For some reason, the medic works better for you as a heavy than a heavy would for you. Although obviously a heavy can't work as a medic. But you see where I'm going with this. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts, your opinions, if you agree or just outright disagree. Either way, hope you guys enjoyed this one. And until next time, my name's Rye. You guys take care of yourselves.